Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order for the open workshop. It is 6:12. I'll take a roll call. Trustee Burke is here. Trustee Cassius is absent. Trustee Egan is here. Trustee Gazdeski Rodriguez is here. Trustee Gonzalez is here. Trustee Stefan is here. Trustee Wilbeck.
Here.
Vice President Munoz. Out here. President Falana. I just want to add to communications, we had a retirement, Jamie Kildosha, that I will add to the agenda, the official agenda for tonight, but it just came in, so I want to accept it.
You can tell she is happy for retirement.
I was ready to say, yeah, that's a big announcement.
That is the font I'm going to use.
Font and emojis.
Two, I'm gone.
Yes.
Do we pay this per game? Every game? $9?
No, you could ask, I mean, yeah, it is large.
Your finance guy, I don't know. It's just large. It's just weird that it's, I've never seen something like that before. So
It might have fell in the cracks into your file, because usually the big ones, no, that should go to Jan.
10 games, that's,
Yeah, it don't matter.
no.
Well, no, there was a file that I like finance.
I did that one.
That might have slipped in, so that should go.
I just wanted to make sure. it
Yeah,
goes the
usually
right
the big
hand.
ones go to the finance committee.
Okay, thank you.
I did my file, I'm working on.
Thank you.
No problem. Because they normally aren't that, yeah, they normally aren't that big.
I just stopped and I was like, I don't really understand.
So folks, pretty much you were made aware of everything. I'm just gonna ask Mr. Kopaz, our bullying, our HIB, HIB for this month, February and March.
Thank you, Dr. Miller. In accordance with the Bayonne Board of Education Policy 5502, during the school period, incidents of harassment, intimidation, and bullying have been reported and investigated at the following schools. One incident at Nicholas Moresco has been investigated and confirmed. Strategies and resources have been provided to the victims to assist in recovery process. Consequences of the remedial measures, agility, etc. All documentation is being obtained by the anti-bullying coordinator. One incident at Broome, one incident at Robinson, 4 incidents at Williams-Shevey Midtown, 2 incidents at Bailey, and 1 incident at Nicholas Moresco. In these cases, there was no confirmed evidence of the investigated acts of HIB, strategies, resources, or remedial measures implemented. All documentation is being retained by the school anti-bullying coordinator. Thank you, Dr. Miller.
Thank you, Mr. Kopaz. So that is all I have for the open workshop, other than a handful of trustees that are going to work between the session and the public meeting for their ethics and disclosure forms with Laura and I. Any other questions? If you want to, yeah, Dan's going to do a budget presentation, and then we'll adjourn.
All right, got a quick handout for you guys. Yeah, flip the edition.
One of these did not have a second page. He said it's continuing, yeah.
Okay, so on tonight's agenda is the tentative budget. And the tentative budget, what that is not the final budget. This isn't the budget that's going to be approved for next year. That's at the next meeting. That's at the April meeting. That presentation will be given in public, and you can decide if you want to change it, vote for it, all those fun things. What this gives me the ability to do is to submit it to the county office for approval prior to giving to the formal budget presentation. So this presentation was given to the Finance Committee. It was discussed and agreed upon there. After that, it was emailed to the full board, so you all should have it. You have a copy in front of you. The one thing that has come up between that time and now is New Jersey School Boards and New Jersey ASBO, which is the Association of School Business Officials, has released some guidance on what the state aid was really for. So the governor made this big thing about property tax relief. And now all these organizations are coming out with property tax relief. So just for the board's knowledge, I gave out a form that showed what different tax percentages would look like at the finance and as part of the budget presentation. There was a discussion by the finance committee and myself about 2%, so that's what you'll see in the actual presentation. But between the tentative budget and the final budget, all those things up. So if there's any questions, if you want to take a second to review it, certainly you can. Okay?
David, real quick, could you just highlight what stuff that we're putting in this year's budget, that things that were addressed that need to be addressed?
Absolutely. There's actually a lot, and it's on the presentation if you want to see it actually written out. It is, remember the slide.
I'm gonna say I think they would benefit from that.
Sure. So some of the major things that we're doing is a lot of capital projects. We're looking to do HVAC upgrades at some of the community schools. That's Washington, Woodrow Wilson, and Robinson, and potentially Horace Mann at this point as well. There's locker room updates here at the high school. We are looking to finalize the purchase of St. Andrews, and then there'll be renovations of that property as well. And then CTE preschool programs. There's also some staffing adjustments. We're looking to hire a physical therapist, occupational therapist, two behaviorists, some instructional coaches. So there's an addition of positions. I always, world language teachers as well, I always say when I talk about staffing levels is that you have to be careful when you're increasing staffing because we want this to be a long-term solution, not a short-term solution. So state aid increases don't happen every year, especially as part of the S2 bill. We have one more year of state aid increases, and then we have to manage our budget with the next one. So we don't like to take small bites of the apple and talk about that.
The locker room is not strictly cosmetic, it has to be done because.
So a majority of the locker room work is actually for ventilation purposes and use of space. The other reason is Title IX, to become Title IX compliant so that both the boys and girls locker room have the full amount of space and full amount of lockers.
We were out of compliance, and, sorry, so we want to address that more.
And I guess the other thing is we should point out that, you know, the fair share amount, we are still under what the state is telling us should be our fair share.
Yes.
And when we do that and we're under, and we don't try to make amends, it can lead to issues with state funding.
Correct. So two of the things that you'll see on that are additions to the slides are uncapped aid, which is our state aid that we should be receiving versus what we're receiving. We're just under $10 million under what we should be receiving. There's still one more year of S2. Then the other piece of that, as part of the adequacy budget, is the local fair share. What the state deems your local town should be paying towards your school district. And we're about $25 million under that local fair share. The one caveat to that is since 2011, there's been a 2% cap on raising taxes, which has set almost all districts back in the local fair share, so that you could never catch up to what your local fair share would be. Just something to bring to.
But we're still supposed to be trying, right?
You're still supposed to
They're
be trying.
logic.
It's always, right? It's skin in the game, is what we always say.
I have another question. So the increase in staffing, and I know there's more that can happen over time, but as far as, we have 2 behaviorists, right? But we know we have how many classified students, is that gonna be enough to support this district? Because we know that the classification is growing.
Right, so the answer to you, in-house staff is no. We're still gonna have to outsource some, but that has to be a slow process, just like I said. We have to make sure that this is sustainable for the long haul, not just a solution in the short term. So if you see, like last year, we had a physical therapist, we had 3 CSD teams, we had an occupational therapist. We didn't have 2, we had 1, and then this year we're doing the same thing again. So we're trying to build those teams slowly and make sure that we can maintain them for forever and not have to just throw all these people in and then have to pull them back out.
And then another question, I know like I had mentioned during around the STEM program, and that being something that we definitely want to get going, and a lot of us share the same passion on the benefits of that. is there something that in this that we're gonna look at and how we can support those programs?
Yeah, so there's a full summer program, and Dr. Degnan can talk about a little more about that. But there's a full summer program, and I think we're gonna try to segue that into, pushing that into the school year, but Dr. Degnan can know more about that.
Or we'll have the funds to push it into the school year?
Yeah, we'd have to allocate more staffing, which is another thing, and just throwing 30 jobs into one budget is kind of a lot to do. We have to do this in increments and make sure the programs are set up and then we do staffing.
In the past, the STEM had corporate schools, is that something you consider again?
Absolutely. So what you're looking at in front of you is just the operating budget. When we talk about the full budget, there's also special revenue, which is grants, which is something you're talking about, and there are a ton of grant-funded programs. So for instance, for the 22-23 school year, we have about $40 million of budgeted grants that all operate, like the preschool program, that's fully grant funded. So yes, absolutely.
Now, if we try and pull it into the school year, is it just gonna be high school or grammar school as well?
For the 22-23 school year, I don't think we plan on doing that for this upcoming.
Right, I mean, right now, we're looking at CUSAC, and you know that we're in the target for world language. It's very clear.
Right.
The higher world language teachers, Dan, how much would that cost to cover world language?
If you roughly, and this isn't whole me, but if you think about one teacher, it's roughly about $80,000. That's the cost of a teacher, roughly. So when we're trying to catch up from being non-compliant in world language, for instance, that's a hefty dollar figure. So again, we're not going to be fully compliant, but we're going to be about 75% there. And then the 23-24 school year, we're looking to be 100% compliant with world language. And this goes back to that staffing need. As we get the state aid, we're definitely looking to increase our staffing, but we can't just jump to a fully funded school district because we're not fully funded just yet. Any other questions? Good. All right, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson.
Thank you.
Good, so I'll adjourn the open workshop, 6:25, and we'll reconvene in the public meeting at 7.
There.
Yeah.